Hello there, this is of course the great and glorious, soon to be famous one day Nick Dutch, back on the microphone, yet again one more time. Hi there, how the heck's it going? I got a wonderful private message from another YouTube user who says, I've recently been watching some videos by the YouTube users known as Teal Scott and Sage let me just spell it for you, Bodhisattva. It says here, have you seen any of their videos? And to which I'd have to say I've seen one or two here and there. The message goes on and says that they discuss spirituality ideas and relate them to some ideas currently being discussed in quantum physics. I'm interested to know your thoughts on spirituality, consciousness, and whether you think physical matter is just energy vibrating that is received by our sensory organs to perceive a model of the world in our minds, etc. It's all quite new to me, but I've been enjoying your videos a lot recently and would love to hear your opinions on this stuff, if it's something you've looked into. Okay. Right, well, there is a thought experiment which I believe goes back to classical philosophy, which basically just asks people to think about what if the world is just like an illusion, and then trying to, break down, the thing's called a brain in a jar model, and it is a thought experiment, it's not a fact. And sometimes that's used as almost like a religious apologetic for some forms of New Age spirituality. So essentially we've got to be careful as to where some of these models are coming from. Now, the quality of the personal experiences I've had would, if I was to take them seriously and literally and all the rest of that, would actually imply that we are not just the contents of our body and brain. Maybe, we could get hypothetical about this until the cows come home, basically. We really could. In reality, in factual reality, we have too many questions and not enough answers, and the only thing we got to go by is strange experiences. But strange experiences, as I always say, don't necessarily prove that which the strange experience seems to suggest. We have to be totally clear about that in our minds. Totally clear, brutal, honest, and cold about that, We can't just say, well, I've had this strange experience, therefore, blah, 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 blah. Despite the fact that, if you draw a line, as it were, through all of the strange experiences I've had and all the strange experiences other people have had, you could say that the mind itself, our individual minds, are possibly some kind of illusion type thing, because consciousness could in fact be everywhere or present. I mean, Alphonse Louis Constant in Transcendental Magic basically said the spirit toils everywhere, fructifying matter with life, or something along those lines. I can't remember the exact quote. And that's in the early stages of the doctrine parts of Transcendental Magic. Now, what he's essentially saying is that life itself has consciousness, and even things which aren't animate, aren't living, have some kind of consciousness in it, and our consciousness seems to somehow work with it and is some kind of, or operates in some kind of fluid way. So this would overlap with holographic consciousness points of view. This would overlap with the spiritual healing energy interpretations of life and matter, and to suggest that our material lives themselves are somehow necessary to the global consciousness of thousands of millions and billions and zillions of organisms within planet Earth, as well as possibly hypothetically outside of planet Earth. And the ideas that were in Barbara Ann Brennan's writings to say that we are like a candle, the body is like the candle itself and the wick of the candle and the wax and all that. But the rest of it is like the flame. There's light which expands throughout the whole of the universe from our very being. That's what these experiences would seem to suggest, yes. Whether that's true or not, I mean, we got too many questions, seriously. We got too many questions, but it seems like that. When you actually share dreams with people, and you can tell them what they dreamt, and they look at you astonished and say, how did you know? When little things like that happen, you think, what on earth is really going on? It's weird. And we can't say what it means, because we don't know what it means. And the moment we start to develop a strong belief about that, then we're moving into the realm of dogma and religion and religious literalism and all that kind of jazz. And we're not really progressing in terms of WTF is actually I mean, there's just too many questions. I can't sit here and say that. It is my point of view that, yes, there is only one consciousness and we're tiny little brain cells in the head of God, despite the fact that the experiences seem to suggest it. It's, the bottom line is I don't know. And I don't think any of us do. There's all kinds of schools of thought which, I mean, there's even stuff in Christianity which overlaps with occultism. Was it Paul who said, like, there is a spiritual body as well as a physical body, as if to say that he believes in the astral body, just like Silver Muldoon did, just like most of the people who've experienced an astral projection would say, and maybe that's what's right. But oh my God, there's just too many questions. It seems like that's the case. It seems like that. Okay, alright. If I was to be pinned down, I would have to say it seems like that's the case. And it's like forms of religious exercises and meditation. These are things which like enable you to have the ability to scrape the tip of the iceberg of whatever is really real in that particular way. But I can't be pinned down totally to say that that is 110% the truth. It just doesn't, it's not right to say that. It's just so difficult to say what is totally true. I mean, this is why I shy away from phrases such as, oh, it works. Because that's like saying, oh, I have the perfect truth of the way that the entire universe works. When how the fuck can you? Seriously, how can... I mean, obviously, please forgive me for swearing there, but, how can you? How can anybody? We can't. Because we don't know enough. I mean, if there was, if it was discovered that there was, a civilization on the dark side of the moon, and I was, sent there for 1 hour by the United Nations to work out everything about it, and I came back, all I could tell you about is what happened in that 1 hour. What I couldn't tell you about is all the other complexities and ramifications of what that means and all the rest of that kind of stuff. There'd be too much information there. But yet all the popular mediums who write millions of books, most of which aren't very well written, worse even than mine, okay? And they say, oh, this is the way it works, or this is precisely what happens after you die. And why do they do that? Why? Because they just want to make money. They don't think about trying to help people. Alright, now, maybe all this quantum physics stroke holographic consciousness stuff is totally true. Maybe it is. But we as a species don't know that yet. Now, one of the reasons why I try and sell this transdeism idea to people is because that is the best way of looking at it. Maybe one day in the future the broad-minded scientists will actually understand all this stuff. But you and me doing our little meditations and stuff, we ain't ever going to understand this stuff. So all we can do is just ask more questions. We can't provide the answers. Now, I don't think I've answered your question there, but thank you for listening anyway.